Welcome to this explainer, where we're diving straight into the legendary, chilling corridors of the famous Stanley Hotel. Today, we're going to systematically demystify paranormal experiences, but we're doing it through the fascinating lens of science. We are going to break down exactly why things go bump in the night, and spoiler alert, the answers? Well, they're hiding right inside your own biology. For decades, people have claimed that seriously strange things happen at the Stanley. We're talking heavy footsteps in completely empty corridors, shadow figures darting around in the dark, and even the inexplicable sound of children laughing. It leaves us with this massive, haunting question. Are these terrifying supernatural events actually real, or is the human mind simply creating elaborate illusions based entirely on fear? To really figure this out, I want you to put yourself right in the shoes of a guest. Just imagine you're walking down a long, silent, echoing hallway in one of America's most haunted places. It's late, it's pitch dark. Suddenly, you hear a faint laugh. A shadow flickers right at the edge of your vision, and the hair on your arm stands straight up. Most folks would swear they just had a brush with the supernatural, right? But let's actually look at the hard science behind that exact moment. Okay, let's start with a psychological survival switch, which is known as the expectation effect. Before you even stepped foot into that dark hallway, you already knew you were in a famously haunted hotel. Just having that piece of information literally flips a switch in your brain. You aren't just taking a casual walk anymore. Your mind is actively putting you on high alert to predict threats. It's really like a biological domino effect. When you're alone in the darkness and you're already expecting to be scared, your brain shifts entirely into a hyper-alert survival mode. It's this ancient evolutionary response designed to keep you alive when you can't clearly see your surroundings. So your brain starts searching frantically for danger, even when the environment around you is completely safe. And because your brain is trying so hard to predict threats to keep you alive, your perception of reality gets incredibly skewed. Suddenly, a totally normal floorboard creak sounds exactly like a dangerous footstep. A gentle breeze? That feels like an icy, ghostly touch. Your biology is literally hijacking your senses, turning mundane, everyday environmental shifts into imminent threats. And this builds directly into how we perceive visual ghosts. Those terrifying dark shadow figures. The science behind this is a really cool visual quirk called pareidolia. This is a well-documented psychological phenomenon where your brain desperately tries to create meaningful patterns out of completely unclear or random shapes. It's actually the exact same reason you might look up at the sky and see a face in the clouds. In low-light environments, human vision loses a massive amount of accuracy. Your eyes simply aren't getting enough data. Actually, it's more like your brain is starving for visual input, so it's forced to fill in the missing details itself. And because of that expectation effect we talked about, it fills in the blanks with exactly what it expects to see: ghosts, human silhouettes, and monsters lurking right there in the shadows. But hey, it's not just your eyes deceiving you. Your ears are totally in on the trick too. When you hear a phantom piano playing in an empty ballroom or quiet whispers in a vacant room, that is auditory pareidolia at work. Just like your eyes search for faces in the dark shadows, your ears are constantly searching for voices and melodies buried in random, chaotic noises. You have to remember the kind of environment we're dealing with here. Old buildings like the Stanley Hotel are essentially giant, aging acoustic instruments made of twisting pipes, stretching wood, and empty elevator shafts. When the wind whistles through a structure like that or the old pipes vibrate, it creates a whole symphony of distorted noise. Your hyper-alert brain just takes those random echoes and forces them into a familiar melody or a recognizable whisper. All right, so what about physical interactions? How do we explain that classic horror movie trope of ghostly doors just swinging open on their own? While our minds immediately jump to the supernatural assumption, the grounded engineering reality is way more practical than spirits roaming the halls. Engineers explain that a whole lot of this just comes down to basic physics. Thermal expansion causes wood to grow and shrink continuously as temperatures fluctuate throughout the day and night in an old building. Combine those shifting warping door frames with slight air pressure differences between massive drafty rooms, and those aging, lightweight doors can easily swing open or just unlatch entirely on their own. We also really need to address the photographic evidence. People frequently post pictures online showing these glowing orbs floating around in dark hotel rooms. But even this usually has a highly logical backstory. When photography experts break these images down, Those spooky orbs are almost always just a result of dust particles floating very close to the camera lens, or maybe motion blur from low light, internal lens reflections, or visual artifacts caused by a long exposure in a dark room. Turns out, those spirits are usually just dust bunnies masquerading as demons. Now, beyond the sights and the sounds, there is another fascinating, kind of low-key theory for why these spaces feel so deeply haunted. And that brings us to the hidden physical trigger of infrasound. Infrasound refers to very low-frequency sound waves that exist below the threshold of human hearing. You absolutely cannot consciously hear them, but your body, it definitely physically feels them. These unheard low-frequency waves, which are often generated by old mechanical systems, heavy winds hitting the side of the building, or even ocean waves miles and miles away, they hit your body and trigger a subtle but undeniable physical reaction. This vibration causes sudden, deep feelings of unease, severe anxiety, and, ironically, the terrifying sensation that someone or something is standing right behind you in an empty room. So, the absolutely crucial point is this. While places like the Stanley Hotel are undeniably spooky and full of incredibly strange occurrences, science has found absolutely no verified evidence of actual supernatural entities. Every major hallmark of a haunting, from the shadow figures and ghostly music, right down to the moving doors and a sudden feeling of dread, has a deeply rooted, fully documented scientific explanation. Instead of finding ghosts, what we really learn through this explainer is how powerfully our environment, our own biology, and our fears can distort reality. It leaves us with this profound realization about our own psychology. The shadows we fear aren't actually hiding in the hotel rooms. They're creations of our incredible, hypervigilant survival instincts. The most haunted place in the world might actually just be the human mind itself. It's honestly amazing how much power our brains have over what we perceive as reality. But before you go, I'd really love to know, have you ever had a spooky, seemingly supernatural encounter that you later found a completely logical, scientific explanation for? Think about it and keep exploring the incredible science of the world around you.